Welcome, everyone. So my name is Marc. I'm the founder of CodeControl and will be your host for this webinar today, Crash Course on Remote Work. Will be roughly a webinar of 20 to 30 minutes with some Q&A at the end. If you have any questions in the meantime, feel free to just use the Ask a Question functionality at the bottom. Also, have a look at the polls to give us a bit of an insight on what your needs are and who you are. There's also Tristan and Lisa in the chat. So if you have any questions or any complications, just reach out to them. We're super excited to do this webinar together with our friends from Masterplan. It's been a long friendship between us. Nonetheless, not only because we follow the same vision and we really want to bring lifelong learning and empowering individuals with digital products and services together, but also because we just think that those are really amazing guys, have built an amazing product and have fantastic customers. In case you don't know what Masterplan is yet, just have a look on the website, definitely sign up, it's really amazing. Their e-commerce, their e-learning platform, mostly for companies and their employees, especially to help employees in the transformation to the digital world, digitalization. So let's look into what we're doing today. First of all, a quick look into who we are at CodeControl, then the case for remote work, why is it important, and then we will get into how can we make sure that it works out. So setting up the infrastructure and tools, making it work on an individual level, and making it work as a team lead. All in all, about 25 minutes from my side, and afterwards Q&A with you guys. Cool. So who are we? Well, CodeControl is a curated freelancer marketplace, and it's the home of Europe's top tech talent. We've been founded in 2015 as a remote-first company, have been always remote since then. The key of our business is putting freelancers at work. We're a vetted freelance community of 320 people, developers, designers, and product managers, with whom we do all kinds of digital projects that can start from a mobile-first bank to a service center app to IoT projects, but can also be some mobile commerce projects or Salesforce implementations. At the same time, we do placements for customers like Koya or Mio or others that just have the need of finding talent really quickly. While our focus as CodeControl, and I think this is one part that we have with Masterplan in common, we really try to be there for the people. In our case, it means helping freelancers to really succeed in their professional life. Now, why is remote work important? Well, it has been the last 5 to 10 years already trend that more and more people are moving to remote work. One, because it makes people more happy, but on the other hand, it makes also people more productive. Now, in the current situation with COVID, it has become a necessity. And a lot of companies are moving happily or not happily to home office, but it's an absolute necessity. So we want to play a role today with sharing a few informations about how it can work out. This cartoon that a colleague of mine shared 2 days ago, I thought was really interesting. It says, "My God, those meetings really could have all been emails." And it's something that a lot of us feel these days because we sit at home, we set up our home office, and suddenly everything works differently than before. And it actually works well. However, there are some parts that need to be taken care of. So let's look into what are these. The first part is setting up the infrastructure and the tools. We categorize it in 5 different parts that are a necessity to be able to work remotely. 1, project management, so that you're always on top of what you're doing and what you want to work on. 2, conferencing, so that you can do all those meetings that you've done before in person, that you can do them digitally. Then chat, so that you have a way of communicating with your colleagues, even in an asynchronous way online, and can share those little conversations that you would usually have over the desk. Collaboration, so that you can use and work on tools, on documents collaboratively, which helps you in being more, or in an easier way in a collaboration when working remotely. And the fifth is documentation, which is something that has already existed in the past, and everyone was saying, oh, you really need to document, you need to document, you need to document. But now that people are working remotely, it is even more important, because people need to understand why have you done what and what has been the result. At CodeControl ourselves, we work with Trello and Jira for the project management, in marketing, and on the individual side on Trello, because it's really easy and has a good way of showing your tasks. And on Jira, in Jira with the tech team and with the finance team, where we have a bit different kind of collaboration elements. For conferencing, we actually love Hangouts and Zoom, which are amazing conferencing systems. But there's also Whereby and lots of others. But it's really key that you have something in place that works well. For chat, we work with Slack. We can talk about the setup at a different session if you're interested in. We really love Slack because it gives us a chance to have a lot of integrations. We've built a lot of Slack bots on top. Helps us to do quick surveys with the team, understand how happy everyone is, understand who is working on what, and what is happening outside with our community. On the collaboration side, we work with G Suite, Miro, and Figma actually, and on documentation with Confluence and Google Drive. I think one of the parts that are the most interesting is if you combine those tools, especially collaboration and conferencing, then you can actually do full-fledged design thinking workshops, any kind of concepting workshops and the like, because you see what happens real time in the collaboration tool. You can work together in the right document, and you can just speak and exchange in the conferencing tools. Let's look into how can you make it work on an individual level. There are 4 key elements. That is 1, setting up your workspace, getting the right routine, communicating well, and then, of course, staying safe. When it comes to setting up your workspace, you always need to keep in mind that also for food, you have the living room or the dining room or dining table. For sleeping, you got the bedroom, and then you got the bathroom to get ready in the morning. So you also need an office space where you can work. It needs to be a separate space, and it should be outside of your bedroom, because you need to get into this rhythm of going to an office. You should have a place where you can have calls. It should be isolated so that no one interrupts you. A comfortable chair and table, obviously, and a stable and strong internet connection. I think these are the basics. For the stable and strong internet connection, it's something that a lot of people struggle with these days. And a lot of people also forget that the good old wire is a good solution to it, because in a lot of cases, it's just the Wi-Fi overload in the cities that make it hard to have a good connection. And you shouldn't have any dirty laundry in the background. Not only because you don't want to show others your dirty laundry, but also because it gives you the feeling that you have something to do that would take you away from the work. So make sure that you have the right setup that is a pure workspace. When it comes to routine, then it's really important that you treat the day as a normal work day. That means get out of your PJ, take a shower, at least in case you're showering, put on some makeup, perfume, I don't know what, and make yourself ready to go to work. And then go to your office. Because if you don't do that, you very quickly get into a phase where you feel a bit depressed of always staying at the same place and not having really a routine. So make sure that you get this routine. Have a fixed work time and non-work time set in your calendar. So you know at what time do you have lunch? At what time do you meet your family? At what time do you perhaps have calls with your friends to catch up? So make sure you have this work-life balance set up, especially when you're at home. And block deep work sessions. So naturally, now that a lot of people are working from home and children are around as well, and the partner might be at home as well, it is important to have a deep work session in which you know there is no interruption. So perhaps there is a time that your child sleeps or your spouse or your partner goes out for a run. So make these your deep work sessions where you know that you have completely uninterrupted time. Now something that comes mostly about how do we work. And the way that we work comes first with communication. And when it comes to remote work, then over-communication is absolute key. Because you wouldn't think how much of your information flow in the office happens actually over the desk. So just a little sentence that you just tell someone, the quick story or the input that you give about a client or someone else. So all of that information you need to package and put it actually online. And we love chat for that. We love Slack to use that, to use for that. But make sure that you rather over-communicate instead of under-communicate. You can always pipe it down and just communicate a bit less if you have the feeling that it's too much. Then make sure that your calendar is up to date. It's also a basic thing that you should always have in mind. But now especially when the element is, how can I reach out to my colleague? It is important that you know, is your colleague currently working or not? Is he available or not? So make sure that it's clear. Then also take the calls with video on. When you have the conversation in a one-on-one, then it's a lot about the mimics, the gestures, and everything that is non-verbal. And by switching on the camera every time that you communicate with a colleague, it helps you to really communicate well and to make sure that what you try to say gets actually received by the other side. In line with that, make sure that you use Slack with emoticons. Make sure that you use your emails with emoticons, because you want to give your messages this little emotional connotation that the other side understands. What is the real tone of the email? Is it friendly? Is it not friendly? Is there a lot of urgency or not? So make sure that you use emoticons. It helps to really express the emotions. And this also counts when it comes to reacting to messages. For us at CodeControl, we use in Slack a lot of emoticons to react on messages, because you have a lot of one-to-many communications or one-to-many messages. So we ask usually to confirm that you've read something with a check, or we ask people to applaud or to do thumbs up, thumbs down, or share some love, or say that they're investigating or the like. It really helps to have a very quick forth and back communication and give the person that has sent out something immediate feedback on how it's received within the company. Well, this is one of the biggest parts, staying sane. First of all, for everyone that is not used to remote work, you need to expect frustration. The first 2 or 3 weeks when you're non-stop working from home, there will be frustrating times. This is especially because you're not used to it. You don't know what a setup should look like. You have not set up your right schedule, not the right way of getting out of home, out of the situation where you're locked into your little office. So just cope with it, expect it. But also find the right ways to work against it. Start a conversation with all your colleagues, always with personal social time. So ask first 5 minutes, how are you doing? How is your dog? How is your family? What's happening with you? Have a bit of a chat, because it's about the little conversations that make it matter. And take the business part second. Then set some time for virtual coffees or virtual lunch with colleagues, but the same with clients. I had the other day a virtual lunch with a client. We had it scheduled for about 2 months, and obviously we will not meet now. So we just had virtual lunch, and it worked perfectly fine. Actually, we managed to do it in 20 minutes instead of 1 hour. And we both were happy and full afterwards. So it made a lot of sense, right? Then take the time to walk around, to stretch your legs, or to go around the block. I personally love to take calls on the go. Yesterday, I think it was 12:30. Our son usually goes to bed or takes a little nap for 1.5 hours. I took him out, walked through the fields, and did 2 or 3 calls. And it worked beautifully, especially those calls where you don't need the computer in front of you. And it clears your mind. It gives yourself a bit of freedom and the feeling that there is something else than just this one room that you're sitting at. Then set break blockers in your calendar. This is really key, that you have the work-life balance, but also that you get a breather. When you sit at home and you're working non-stop and it becomes stressful, it's easy to just continue. Make sure that you have a break. Make sure that you go out. Make sure that you go for a run. Make sure that you have perhaps lunch with the people living with you. And lastly, get some headspace. You can use mindfulness apps. You can use sports apps, or just meet, perhaps not in person now, but meet online with friends. All these apps are amazingly great when it comes to giving you rest and giving you a peace of mind. And rightfully so, these companies are having a big rise in their numbers, which makes a lot of sense because they're amazing. Personally love Headspace and obviously all different sports apps that you can use. When we look into making it work as a team, there are two key elements. That is, ensure clarity and open communication, and two, empower your team. Afterwards, I give you a little bit of a bonus as well. What do we mean with ensure clarity and open communication? The first part is making the goals clear to your team. The whole team needs to be aligned on why are they running for what. So what is the company's goal? What is the individual's goal? And why does this task really play into the company's success? And the clearer you make that to your team, the easier it is for everyone working in your team to work remotely and decide themselves what is the right task and what isn't. We ourselves, we use OKRs, which is a fantastic tool, objective and key results, which usually works in a quarterly base, where in a quarterly base we put on the company level company objectives and key results, define those, and then define in teams and individually what everyone has at OKRs, with monthly check-ins to check if we are on track or not. Works really well. It gives the right mindset for everyone to understand what we're working on. Then set up rituals, weekly all hands, weekly one-on-ones, and daily check-ins and check-outs in Slack. For us, the weekly all hands means Monday morning, 9 o'clock. It's very short, 20 minutes. The team leads give a quick overview of last week and the next week, and just what are the main results, what are potential blockers, and what's happening, so that the company knows what is coming in their direction this week. It's really short, but gives us a really good start to the week that we are all aligned. The weekly one-on-ones. We use Trello or Jira to look into the individual tasks and see how can we prioritize the different tasks to make sure that everything is aligned. If there are any blockers, how can we unblock? And then there is a part that is really important, that is daily check-ins and check-outs via Slack. At CodeControl, we do it in written. That means every morning, every team member looks into their tasks and defines what are the top 3 priorities, puts them down in Slack, and shares it with their team. This leads to two things. One, it is communicated to the outside, so you're accountable for what you're doing. But two, you take yourself the time to really define what your priority is. And you know that day, if I finish this day having done those tasks, then it has been a successful day. And this can be done in our sales team. We do it also with checkouts, which give a lot of help or guidance when it comes to how did I perform, what didn't work well, is there any change in priority. Then it's really important to have a clear communication protocol. There's so many different mediums which you can communicate. Email, Slack, phone call, text message, I don't know what. And you need to understand when to use which one. There's communication that is asynchronous and there's other communication that is synchronous. So set up a simple, we use the Google Sheet, and we have it in the end, and we'll share it with you guys, a Google Sheet that says what is the urgency and what is the impact, and is it synchronous or asynchronous, and define what channel to use. So it helped us in the company a lot to get a really clear understanding, when do I have to react, how quickly, and what kind of channel do I use. But then it's also important that everyone that uses those mediums understands how to structure a message. the first sentence needs to be always, why am I contacting you with what? Only if you get that kind of structure, you're interested in reading the rest. And then afterwards, you can give the details. But that gives the reader an overview of why is someone actually contacting me and what is expected from me. When it comes to Slack, it also helps a lot to give a date or a time until which people should respond, to make clear, do I tag people, do I not tag people, do I tag a channel or not? So all these things are part of the communication protocol. Again, we will share it, and feel free to always reach out to us if you have any questions. The last part for you, as a manager, is ensure a mindset of availability and reachability. This is important because when you're in the office, you have a feeling for how does someone feel? How's the team performing? Are they really happy? Are they unhappy? Is there something bad happening on a personal level, or is everything good? If you don't have that, make sure that you have this kind of closeness with the people, even though they're remote. So just check in, have a call now and then. Make sure that they know that they can always reach out to you. At CodeControl, we implemented a happiness survey where people can anonymously or with their name give us feedback on how happy they are, how much workload they have, and any other suggestions that they have to the company. And it helped us a lot to get really good understanding how people tick in that moment. And then lastly, for the management, it's about empowering your team. And the key element of this is trusting your team. They do work, and they work at home, and it is not worse, and you need to control them. If you followed all the elements before, then you have an alignment, you have a purpose for the people, and you don't need to micromanage them. They understand what their tasks are. They will naturally do them because they have a reason to work for your company, and it works out. So whenever you catch yourself thinking, oh, is XYZ actually working? Or let me check if they're online. Has this been, or has been someone been working on this? Just stop for a moment and think, how could I differently approach that? And usually that is by setting clear goals and looking at the results. See, did someone achieve their goals or not? What are the results? Don't care about how much has been worked, but rather care about are the goals actually met or not. The other part is encouraging a mindset of being self-sufficient. So it mostly goes in the direction of leading by example. So we have a lot of different tools that we need to use to work remotely. And if you don't show that you use them the right way, then others will not use them the right way either. And second, if you see that someone is not using it the way that you would like it, so for example, let's take collaboration tools, a Google Doc or a Google Sheet. People that are not used to working real time with other collaborators and have others potentially see what they're doing in the doc might have a bit of fear of taking that step. And just encourage them. If you show them how it works, if you do work together with them on a document, then they start getting used to it and really start loving it. And the last part that is really important now for everyone that still is hiring, make sure when you do new hires that you do a social onboarding. So obviously you need to tell them how to use the tools and what their tasks are and so on and so on. That works all digitally the same way as in person. But the tricky part is really building relationships. So make sure that a new onboard has with everyone in the company half an hour to an hour, a virtual coffee to chat about anything, not about work, but everything else. So as a key element to build a bit of togetherness, you can also do team lunches digitally to just have something happening. You can do the same for the evenings. You can have apéro and a drink together with your team, thank God it's Friday, right? But make sure that you do some of these elements to have the right team culture. Now, some bonus tips. These are things that don't have to happen, but I see a lot of companies do them, and I think they do good. So the first is making sure the team has everything they need. Depending on how you stand with benefits, You can pay internet, it's even tax deductible. You can pay a desk, you can pay a chair, you can pay a screen, anything for your team. And there are some companies that even send flowers. So just a flower subscription every week or two, there's flowers to come home so that people feel a bit comfy at home and they understand that this transition really works and that you care. The other part is contextualize your surrounding. The simplest thing is sending a picture of yourself in your home office. And do it perhaps daily. Wear something funny and just send a picture. Make it a bit easy. Encourage others to do the same. It just helps that people understand everyone is sitting at home. Everyone is sitting in the home office. They're still close to me. I can still touch them. They're available. And the last part is daily dose of what's on your mind. I think it's the toughest part, but I find it amazing measure to take, or amazing tool. It's just in the morning to give a 5-minute update what is on your mind. Usually when you come to the office, you will have some chats at the water cooler, in the kitchen, just at the entrance door, but you will have some chats and you will give some input on what you think about what's happening in the world, what's happening in the company, what the challenges are currently. If you do that in a digital way, you can do it with either just a voice message, a video, or just in written. Then people have a bit of closeness what's actually happening. The worst thing that can happen is if people detach from what's happening within the company. So to sum up, for the individuals, it's about setting up your workspace, having a good routine, communicate well, mostly over-communicate in the beginning, and try to stay sane. For team leads, it's about ensuring clarity and open communication. So that means really aligning on goals and having a good setup that the whole company knows what you're running for. Then empowering your team, which comes down to trust, and coming up with your own edge with some fun elements to make sure that everyone loves it. You can see here in the presentation that we will share later that is our communication protocol, which we did in a Google Sheet. Feel free to use it, to copy it, to make it out of your own communication protocol out of it and reach out. Also, always feel free to reach out to us. Margot's email address and my email address. Margot has been always a fan of continuous learning and future of work. She's been freelancer for many years and absolute remote lover. Me, myself, obviously as well. So please always just ping us. Also check out remotework.codecontrol.io. We will do a couple of webinars also on different topics. If you have any needs, you can always reach out to us. Yeah, thanks a lot. So let's look at the questions. So far we got 7. Did you have a 95% rate of currently working remote before? Yes, actually, for us, yes. We're a 100% remote company. We do have 2 offices in Berlin, which are for our freelancers and for ourselves. So from our side, we had it and we really love it. There's one part that we find a bit tough currently. That is that we usually do regular check-ins. So we would have now had our 3-month OKR meeting for the next quarter, and everyone would have come on site and we would have done a little team event and do little things together. And unfortunately, we can't do that. And this is something that is really lacking now. So it's important to do a bit of different setups. How is it possible to support the team spirit within a team of 15 plus team members? So I agree, challenges and competitions. I think this is a big part, and it goes back to alignment, really to make sure that everyone understands why are they running for what, and what does it mean for each individual. So how does it break down to their team and to them individually? Please also let me know if I'm not answering your questions whatsoever. Some of the employees are currently struggling with questions, how they can make their deep work visible when everyone is using different tools. Yeah, so this is again something for the communication protocol. When it comes to how to show others if you're in a deep work phase or not, It is one first on yourself to really set yourself in the deep work. So do not disturb. Switch off your emails, so do not disturb on a Mac. You can put on Slack, just do not disturb as well, to make sure that just no pings come through, right? And then if do not disturb and on Slack is over, afterwards it informs you of all the messages that you have received. It's a very powerful way of doing it. There are also ways of connecting Gmail with Slack, at least. I don't know if it's with Teams as well and with others, but with Slack, so that it updates your status on the go, depending if you're in a meeting or have a block or not, which is really nice way of visualizing it for everyone. So the onboardings, when it comes to onboardings, it's gone, I think. But for onboardings, I can just say the same part. It's really about doing the social meeting and making sure that everyone meets in some way. If you have the chance to send a little gift or something from the company, that there's still like some pullovers, CodeControl pullovers, or the like a welcome package. If something like that comes to the new employee, this helps a lot. If the current team is not as communicative or motivated to communicate, how can the managers convince them to do that online? Tough one. I think it's really living it by example. So try to do calls, make sure that the video is on. I think the communication protocol can be a workshop that everyone gives the input. And the more you get the input from everyone, that's at least how we did it, the more you get the commitment that what you got in the protocol actually works. So I think that helped us a lot, that everyone understood it, that everyone said that makes sense. And it's good. For the communication, it's also questions, the more you get answers, right? So if you have the feeling that no one communicates, just ask questions, just do polls, do something like that to get them engaged. I think that would be my suggestion there. Have a look if there's any other question that popped up. Any tips for written documentation before meetings? Given structure, how to do share these protocols? How do you share these protocols? So usually for us, it is really in the calendar invite to just make sure what is the agenda. For certain meetings that are recurring, so for weeklies, we use a Google Doc that we just have always a new date, and we always set the new date. And throughout the week, we put the new topics that need to be discussed in there. And then there is a result, and we assign different tasks that then people can put into their own task software, whatever they use, right? That's one way, at least for having these standard meetings. For other parts, we use Confluence for everything that is like blueprints or campaigns that are running a bit longer, so that we understand this is how we've done it, and these are the results. The other part is of saying, well, now we've done one part, let's say it's a webinar, how do we set up the webinar? How do we invite people and the like? To then create a blueprint out of this and say, if you want to set up a webinar event, how can you do it, right? And this is then a typical Confluence page. Let me see if there's any other. So, wie kriegen wir Teammitglieder, die überhaupt nichts mit digitalen Arbeiten bisher zu tun haben, ins Homeoffice? Stellen wir uns ganz simpel mal Frau Müller aus der Buchhaltung vor und jemand sagt jetzt alles fürs. So it's about how do you pick people to home office that have never done home office. I think this is the toughest part that we have currently in this crisis of how do we get people to work remotely that have just no closeness to digital world. I think our best chance is literally coaching, right? It is often about how do we get a laptop, how do we get the simple things running, the internet running, the laptop running, and all these elements. They are a must. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. from then on, you can see that you just teach it step by step. You will not be able to get everyone on collaboration tools, on chat tools, on everything. But I think the base is possible. You can also imitate some of these elements. So be a bit more creative when it comes to, instead of conferencing system, just do a good old conference call. Just make sure that the people feel close. So just instead of have a chat, call a few more times, right? I think these elements can help as well if the company is not as digital. So what do you do if your boss is literally not doing anything to promote the team happiness? I would say quit. This is it's really not a good setup. It really depends on your company culture. I think we have at CodeControl we have a very open communication and a very. I think everyone is very much invited to always share the feedback, and that helps certainly to people phrasing things. So we had cases where Margot or me did not understand what the need currently of the team is, but then usually people spoke out. And I think if you have the feeling that that there is no focus on team happiness, then come up with ideas how you do it. For example, the happiness survey, we're happy to share also how we do that. Just write us an email afterwards and we share your information about that. And just suggest it and say, X, Y, Z, why don't we do X, Y, Z? So work a bit with numbers and try to get it into the head of your boss, and yeah, take it from there. Do you have a good reference for establishing a communication strategy? So I think really the first part is the communication protocol that you guys you have the link in the presentation and we put it also in the email. It is very, very wide what is communication strategy, right? But I think this would be the first part. If you can specify a bit more what elements of the communication strategy, then I can go a bit further into that. Oh yes, and you get also new polls. Very good, thank you, Tristan. So what we'd like to know from you is, one, if you have the feeling that you have the right tools or not. So please give us feedback on that. There is also what really helps us is if the webinar has been helpful, please, after the webinar, write us emails, give us feedback. It's really a quick introduction into remote work. If you have any other questions, just let us know, and we're happy to do more workshops. So what do you think, which of the suggested tools and routines would work in personal relationships too nowadays? I think my marriage is a bit weird because we use all of them. So I think most of them work. I really like shared lists. I really love to have project management shared. So I think this is a lot, helps a lot. The collaboration tools, obviously, drives. We have all our text information, everything in a shared drive. So I think these parts help a lot. And then Zoom and the like help a lot with friends. I just saw it with friends that just do a ton of little drinks, online drinks, and have 6 or 7 people together to have drinks. And I think it makes sense. Hangouts is the easiest and the cheapest for that. There's a question, how important is documentation for regular meetings when the whole team is remote working, even if it's not about sharing information, not really some agreement? There's always a thin line what needs to be documented, what doesn't, right? Documentation in Slack for everything that can go away and you just might need to search for again is, I find, the easiest and quickest documentation. And then you have the second step of documentation that is everything that you want to get back to. So anything where it's about why did I do what? So really, what decision have been made out of what reason? And what kind of initiatives have been run? And what is the result, right? I think this is, and how do you do these initiatives? And these make always sense to document, because otherwise you keep the knowledge very individual on one person, and that makes it a bit tough. Marc, do you have an advice for remote workshops? Actually, we're currently looking into offering something ourselves. If you're interested, please just reach out to us on the remotework.codecontrol.io. I'm not sure if we have a form yet. Otherwise, just write me an email, because it's something we look into. Perhaps we can just have a look together. Do you have a good recommendation for smart virtual workshop applications like the creative workshops? Actually, not sure if I answered that one already. In case not, to me, it's really Figma in a combination with Zoom. I think Zoom works fantastically, especially if you have two screens, because you have one screen with a picture of the people of the meeting and the other screen where you can share everything that is happening. So it works really nicely with two screens, and then you can have a full-fledged workshop running. And you see who is doing what where. So this is my preferred setup that I absolutely love. Good. I think we're slowly getting to an end. Are there any other questions? Anything that I missed? Thanks a lot. So again, I want to highlight again, if there are any questions, please reach out. You got our email addresses. We will send you the presentation after the webinar, so that you got that for reference. Please also feel free to share the slides. They're there to be shared. And thank you very much.